Hey gut feelers! I'm super excited today to share a conversation I had with a friend about Vipassana retreats and the 10 days of silence meditation retreat first introduced by Gwenka. Got a special guest for you, a dear friend of mine from London who has over 20 years of meditation experience and works with emotional release and letting go. Together we're going to explore his experience with Vipassana retreats. He did the 10 days 4 times. It's an open conversation we had about Vipassana and it got 4 parts. First, I asked him how he started meditating, how did he come to Vipassana meditation. The second, what was his most profound learnings and highlights during these 4 retreats he did. And the third, what makes Vipassana as a meditation form special. And then in the end, we're going to talk about the best tips Daniel can share with somebody who's new to Vipassana, who thinks about attending the 10 days of silence, and he's going to share his best preparation techniques with us. And now, without any further ado, let's jump right into our conversation about Vipassana retreats and the 10 days of silence after Gwenka. What's your experience with meditation and how did you discover Vipassana?
Well, I started meditating when I was about 26, so that was 18 years ago now. I originally started doing a martial arts, a type of kung fu, Wing Chun. Mm-hmm. And the teacher said to me that my mind really wasn't with my punch, that kind of thing. So he said that I should, practice meditation, and it was something that I had thought about doing. So I started doing something called Qigong. Mm-hmm. And I was doing Qigong for a couple of years when I thought, I would really like to know what it would be like to do something more intense.
More intense than Qigong?
Yeah, well, you can make anything as intense as you want. Mm. With Qigong, I was doing it probably an hour, maybe 2-3 hours a week. And I thought I had heard about these 10-day courses, which where there was silent retreats, there was no speaking, you couldn't do anything, couldn't even look people in the eye. So I thought to myself, I wonder what that would be like, because it was roughly about 9.5, 10 hours of meditation a day on the course. And I want to know if there would be a difference, if that would have some kind of effect on me if I was to do that course.
Yes.
So I basically signed up for my first 10-day course, and that's really how I got started with it.
And where was it? In the UK or?
It was in a town called Hereford in the UK, and they have the centres all around the world, as you know. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many centres they have. They have a lot, and you go along 10 days. It's vegetarian diet. You get up at 4:00 in the morning. First meditation begins at 4:30, and then you meditate till about 9:00, 9:30, and all throughout the course, it's a silent retreat. So I think the silence begins the first day at the first evening, and you're expected to turn up to your group sessions. You also have sort of sessions where you can have in your room. Yeah, you've got the main hall. And you've got the men on one side of a hall and the women on the other side of a hall. And there's no mix. You can't mix men and women. So you can't speak with the women, and obviously you can't speak with anyone. Yeah. But there's no mingling. So the women are completely on their side of the whole area. Sleep together, have dorms together. Sometimes you share a room with one other person. Sometimes you share with 3 other people. Sometimes you share with 8 people.
Oh, okay.
So when I first went on my very first course, I shared with 1 other person. And then my second course, I shared with 8 people. And it's very interesting not being able to talk to anyone, and sharing a room with the person and not speaking with them. So when you first arrive, you have your rucksack, and they may be there. So you introduce yourself and then you say goodbye because you're not going to be speaking with them for 9 days. And it's a bit strange when you first do it. The very first course, you'll experience different things because I didn't really know what to expect from the meditation.
What was something that stood out for you? Like what were some highlights?
So I think each course is different. Each course I've done is everything's been different. Like the very first time I went, I was surprised at how intense it was, or how intense like when you're meditating, the first 4 days are spent concentrating on your breath. So all you're doing is you're observing the sensation of your breath going in and out of your nostrils at this point here. So for, I think 3 or 4 days, you just observe the feeling of the breath coming in through your nostrils, coming out through your nostrils. And that's all you do. And you start to see how much your mind wanders. When you're doing it for that intense period of time, for 10 hours, you start to see all the stories of your mind. And all throughout the time, through the course, you start to realize, actually, I'm pretty crazy. You know, when you have no distractions, you're not speaking, not anything, and you just observe your mind and you see how much your mind moves, how much it talks, how many stories it tells you. So you start to realize, God, I'm nuts. In fact, everyone else is the same. And there was this one particular time I remember, I'll give you the story. I was on my 3rd course. I was in the gents' bathrooms and I was washing my hands, and this guy came next to me and he started talking. And I'm thinking, why is he talking? He's not meant to be talking. I left it as that. And towards the end of the course, at the end of the course, when we're all allowed to talk, you know, we start talking to me and this guy. And I said to him, what was the course like for you? Oh, it was amazing. It was wonderful. I got such a big experience out of it. But I was really annoyed at one point. And I was like, why were you annoyed? And he was like, well, because halfway through, this teacher came up to me, the manager came up to me and said, look, stop talking. And he said, but I wasn't talking. You know, and that's when I realized that he didn't even know he was talking to himself.
Wow.
You know, his mind was just going on, and he wasn't even aware of it. I mean, I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him that I had heard you talking, because he would have thought, you know, but, you know, when it's just quiet, all of a sudden you notice, or maybe it's always like that, but you're just not aware of it. And I think that's more the case. It's your mind is always talking, always chatting. You're just not aware of it. And when you're in a silent retreat, all of a sudden, everything is magnified. The breath that you watch for the first 3-4 days, you start to notice how it moves. You start to notice all the sensations along here. And over the next few days, you take your attention up to the top of your head. So previously it's here, your attention is here, feeling your breath. And then you take your attention up here. And as you do, you start to notice all these sensations going along here. And then you take your attention all across your whole body. Mm-hmm. And then you start to notice all these sensations that have always been there, but because your mind has been so active, you haven't even noticed them. So you notice injuries that you thought had healed are suddenly still there. You notice pain that you've had in your back is now magnified. You notice tension in your shoulders is now bigger. So all the parts of you, the sensations you carry around in your body, are all magnified during this meditation. And when they're magnified, if you're suffering from pain in certain areas, then the point is to remain what they call equanimous, have equanimity in the observation of those sensations. So you just observe them as they are without wanting to change them, without wanting them to make them different.
That's like the emotional release part a little bit, like just allowing it to be there and waiting.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you're just observing things exactly as they are, with no wanting to change them. You don't want to make them different. There's a part of you that does. There's a part of you that's thinking, when this pain is here, I want it to go away.
Yeah.
You know, and they have these every day, I think from day 3 or day 4, when you start observing your sensations, they have these sittings of strong determination, they call them. 3 1-hour sessions per day of no movement. You're sitting in one posture and you're not meant to move at all from that posture. You're not meant to shift. You're not meant to do anything. You just stay in that posture. And as you stay in that posture, because your mind is so concentrated and more aware, all your sensations which are magnified start to get more intense. So all the sensations you have, like tension, tightness, back pain, will get more and more intense as you go along. And your goal, if you like to say, is to just observe them. It's to really have no goal. It's just to allow them to be exactly as they are. And as you observe them, then they start to change. So, and you'll notice how certain things in your body start to change. You may have a sensation on your hand, maybe a tightness, and all of a sudden that dissolves and another one appears in its place. You may have a sensation in your forearm or in your fingers or in your neck or in your forehead. Anyway, and you're just observing whatever happens during, these 10 days.
Yes.
And from my point of view, this really improved my meditation because, for the length of intensity that you do this, 10 hours a day, because you're doing this, your brain is put in a certain state, like an alpha state when you're asleep, or the theta states, the deeper sleep states. So you need less sleep anyway when you're doing this. So I would find myself, not really on the first course, but on the second and third courses I'd done, I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was wide awake. I'd go to bed at 9, wake up at 2. I was wide awake, and I'm like, what am I doing? I might as well meditate. So I'd meditate 2 hours from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning, then go have a shower, then meditate from 4 to 6. And then the rest of the time as well. So and your dreams get really vivid as well. So when you're on the course, all of a sudden, I was just amazed how real my dreams seemed. It was unbelievable. It was like I was literally like I'm speaking to you now. The detail that you see around you right now, this moment, is the kind of detail you see in your dreams. And it seems so real. When you're observing your sensations on your body, you start to experience sensations of, they call them gross sensations. So sensations of pain, sensations of blind spots, sensations where you don't even feel like you're feeling sensations.
Yes.
And as you start to observe them, your awareness becomes more acute. And what you experience as, clumps of heavy energy start to dissolve. So, for example, you may have pain in your knee, and all of a sudden it starts to dissolve, and all of a sudden that area is now like vibrating. And the more you go around your body, over the next few days, the more, you can dissolve these heavy, gross sensations start to dissolve. And as they are dissolving, you will start to perhaps experience thoughts and emotions that come up, which have been long suppressed, which have been hidden from you. And this is what happened to me on, I think it was the third course that I'd done when 3 months after my father died. I started getting all these emotions coming up. And at the time I had immense back pain. And it's only when, and I didn't know why I had the back pain. And on the third course, I couldn't concentrate. My mind was constantly wandering. And I started getting really frustrated, thinking, why is my mind wandering? It's the third course I'm doing. I should be better at the third course than I was in the first and second course. So I started getting really frustrated because I didn't understand why I couldn't still my mind. And I was on my third course, and the first course seemed much, much better for me.
Yes.
So this went on for about 7 days. We observed the breath for 4 days, and then we spent 3 days observing the sensations, and I couldn't do it. Every single time I would take my mind to my breath or to my body, my mind would go off on one. And it's only when I think I woke up on the 7th day or the 8th day, and I sit down and I go down to my cubicle, sit down, and I start getting all these thoughts about my dad. And at that point I start crying, and I don't stop crying until, I don't stop crying all day. I'm crying constantly constantly. And at that point, I thought what was wrong. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be crying. I'm not meditating. I should be meditating. I shouldn't, why am I crying? Even though I understood about emotional release then, but I didn't really get it. I understood intellectually. And it's only the very next day when I go to sit down and I notice 95% of the pain in my back and shoulders has disappeared. And my mind was super calm. And that's when I realized that all that emotional energy I had held into my body, and I think I mentioned this before, had been released during this Vipassana meditation. That's when I understood there was a whole reason behind me crying, and that, me going on the meditation course had given space for all those feelings to come up and to be released. And maybe if I never went on that course, they would still be in me. And I would be suffering from, back pain or.
And running an IT business.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still doing that now. So.
Was that the moment when you decided to work with that, like professionally, like to shift in that direction?
That was the moment that I knew how powerful it was. I realized the connection between what I hold inside of me and how much my mind talks. Because I think the problem we have as well with meditation is we're trying to stop our mind from talking. We all have been there where we're meditating and we're trying to take a breath and we're getting annoyed when it's talking. Right, yeah, exactly. But what we have to understand is talking for a reason. It's talking so that we can look back into ourselves and deal with the emotions that haven't been dealt with. Once the emotion energy is cleared, our mind's going to be quiet. It doesn't need to talk. And that's where the insight and inspiration comes in from.
And this feeling of flow, like I experienced that, it's just like, it's something like it's very silent and at the same time it's super alive. Like it's this feeling of there's so much happening, but it's like completely on the surface it looks like this, like it's completely calm and ease.
Yeah. Now, when someone's starting out for meditation, there's a urge or a feeling of wanting to be in that state immediately, and there's a frustration when we're not. When we're not in that state, that calm state, and we think we get frustrated and annoyed. And it's perfect the way it happens. It's okay. It's fine. But I think it's important to understand is we're not in that state because stuff is coming up. And even the feeling, the emotion of frustration and annoyance behind that coming up has a purpose to be felt. And I think the Vipassana meditation is a really good way of doing that. Of just putting yourself in an environment where you can do that.
You're actually reading my mind. I was just, what do you see is the difference between like all the other meditations you did and Vipassana? What makes Vipassana special?
What I like about it is you're just observing what is. It's the whole purpose of it, really. Just observe what is. Whatever happens, you're okay with it. Just you have equanimity to, a pleasant sensation and a sensation which is unpleasant. In the same way, have equanimity to a sensation to an emotion which is pleasant and one which is unpleasant. You're okay. You're just observing it from a neutral perspective. I think it depends on the practitioner, really. It's not really a technique that matters, but it's the actual practitioner themselves. Because you can have a person doing Vipassana meditation that is doing it half-heartedly. That's not really caring about it. That's, they're only going to get a certain amount of benefit from it. But then you can have a person that is really, just putting their heart and their energy and their the whole heart into it, and that's different. So technique-wise, I think it is a really lovely technique. It's a beautiful technique. Just observing your body, observing the sensations. I think it helps you in many areas of life just to do that. But I think the higher up you get in any technique, the more I think everything converges until there is no technique. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're doing Vipassana, whether you're doing sort of SGI sort of meditation, whether you're doing Qigong, whether you're doing yoga, you know, the higher up you get, the more dedicated you get to your practice, and the more in the moment it all converges into one, I think. So I think it's just a door in, but ultimately you have to leave the technique at some point, I think.
For me, when you talk about it, it's like I feel I know like what you talk about. I know that from like my own feeling. I never did deep Vipassana. That's why I thought, let's get Daniel on it. And at the same time, what I see, like when you talk about this, and what I experience myself is like the power of this is to like just being able to be with whatever is gives me an immense power, like personal power. You know, the world out there can crush and I'm still here. I don't have to hide. I don't have to run away. I don't have to jump into things. I can just take a breath and like know that everything is fine. You know, everything. I can feel the center in me. That's kind of the power bubble.
Yeah. I 100% feel what you're saying, because often the universe brings us not what we want, but what we need.
So or what we want on another level, what we want for growing.
Exactly, yeah. So maybe our soul wants this, but our ego self is like, no, I don't want that. That's the last.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. So it will bring us uncomfortable experiences because we need them to grow.
And we wouldn't move otherwise. That's it.
Yeah, and Vipassana is perfect. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, almost every single time I've done it, at one point I go, why the fuck am I doing this?
This sucks.
At some point it gets really intense, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through it? Yes. But at the other end of that, you know exactly why you're doing it. I've always found a great benefit from doing it. And I'm probably going to do one this year as well. I haven't done one for, I think, 2-3 years. But I'm going to do one.
If somebody listens to this or they thought about doing a Vipassana retreat before, what are your best tips to give them on the way?
One really important thing is to watch the mind and the stories it tells. And what I mean by that is that some people go along. I've heard people talk about these Vipassana courses on forums. And someone said, it's like a cult. You know, you can't do anything. It's you know, and they were saying all these things. This is your mind speaking, because all it is all you're doing is sitting down.
And eating a little bit.
All you're doing is sitting down, and eating. You're not, you're just sitting down and observing your body. That's all you're doing. Fundamentally, that's all you're doing. So any stories that your mind makes about, the teacher isn't enlightened, or mind is going to go on these stories about how, maybe I'm hungry, I should be getting fed more food. Your mind will make up these stories about why you should not be doing this, or trying to make an excuse not to do it, or it's not for me, or whatever. That is just the story of the mind that's coming up for you not to do this, because the mind doesn't like to face whatever's coming up, because it could be painful. So forget about the stories in your mind and just feel. Just feel, observe, and watch whatever happens within you, and just allow it to happen. If there's discomfort here, that's fine. If there's an emotion coming up, which is tearful, which is grief, which is anger, shame, guilt, frustration, just allow those feelings to be there. They're okay, and just observe them. That's it, really. Apart from that, I think that's the key thing. Don't get attached to stories in your mind. I remember in my business, when someone joined my company, I would give them, in addition to their holidays, I would say you can do 10 days of Vipassana meditation.
Nice. That's a self gift to your company, basically.
Yeah, to my colleagues and employees.
No, basically it's like it comes back like many times when people do that. When you're
but it was, for me, I saw great benefits. So if someone joined the company, I said, look, if you want to take 10 days to do Vipassana meditation, add it to your holidays. And there was this one Turkish guy that did it. And I thought out of everyone, he wouldn't give up. But he did. He gave up at the 7th day. And then when I asked him, when he came back to work on the 8th day. I was just surprised. I thought he'd at least take the 3 days off. He came back to work on the 8th day and he said, yeah, I stopped it. And, I decided it wasn't for me. And, and when I asked him why, he gave all these excuses that his mind had created in order for him to run away from everything that was coming up, because he was experiencing some tough emotions. So his mind created an excuse to leave at that point.
Isn't that what we always do? Like the mind is like always doing that, because we as humans, I mean, that's natural. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel hungry. We just want to feel good. So it's really like, for me, it's really creating this mind strength that knowing, for example, we did this business course there together in London, and I was like super uncomfortable in this tiny room with all these sweating people.
Yeah.
And it's just artificial light.
We didn't sweat that much, come on.
It was horrible for me. Like I suffered. You don't know how it feels inside me. And but I knew like what I wanted. Like I knew like the carrot. I could see the carrot still, or what, or the celery juice, or whatever you want to put there. Something that I wanted behind the clouds. So if I have that, and I go maybe on this Vipassana retreat, having something like the reason why you're there, maybe can help to stay on track. Like to move through this. Yeah,
it definitely helps to have a reason, and it's got to be your reason, not someone else's. So if someone tells you should do it, you do it because they think you should. It's
That's not a compliment.
That's not anything really, but yeah, to have an intention, stay with your intention, do it. But it was not easy. When the first time I'd done it was the hardest thing that I'd ever done in my life.
Wow.
Because you don't have anything to distract you.
Yeah.
If you have an unpleasant emotion come up in everyday life, or an unpleasant feeling, you don't feel good,
you just go to Facebook.
Go to Facebook, or
eat something.
Eat something, or drink some alcohol, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Run away from that feeling into something else.
Yes.
But with Vipassana, you have no choice. You have to face it. And that's what people don't like, especially when those emotions come up.
Because we're not used to it. It's about like learning to be with that. Like once you, like for now, you know it. You just sit down, and then okay, this is uncomfortable. Let's sit with it. It's like the opposite almost.
I still run away though. I think if I had sat down with every feeling that came up, I would have been perhaps enlightened. Who knows? But I still run away. I've been doing this work for a while, and I think there's certain emotions which are really unpleasant. That at time I will face them, but I take my time about it. If someone rejects us, then we may sort of start to project, saying, "No, you're just stuck up, you're being snobbish," or you. And this is why I've seen people on forums say, "This is crazy, this is stupid, this is don't do this, you're going to be brainwashed." But what's actually happening is the opposite.
Yeah, you're going to get cleared out. It's like a detox.
It's a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual detox in a way.
And it's also great because of the food. You don't eat so much, so the digestion also has time to clear up itself. The liver can heal.
Yeah, it's
all
happening. Yeah, you don't eat much, and but you've got also one other thing. When you're doing the course, you listen to a video, And during the video, the guy says to you that don't eat so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I just reiterate that because you've only got 2 meals a day. But when you start, you've got 2 meals and a piece of fruit. Usually what happens on the second meal, which is at 11:30, everyone stuffs themselves.
And the second meal is at 11:30?
Yes.
And that's the last one of the day?
Yeah, for an advanced student, the last one. But if you're a beginning student, the last meal of the day is 2 pieces of fruit at 5 o'clock.
2 pieces? It's limited.
Yeah, it's only 2 pieces of fruit. Because of that, everyone stuffs themselves at 11:30. But then during the afternoon meditation, everyone's falling asleep. Exactly. So, and I found, and they tell you this every single day: don't stuff yourself, don't stuff yourself. And people,
but if you only have 2 meals, I mean, that's what you do. Like, really?
Yeah. And you can't help yourself in a way, especially when you start doing this. But it's only after halfway through the second course that I realised what I was doing, and so I made a conscious effort to eat very little on the second meal. Because I didn't want to fall asleep during my meditation, which is what I was doing the first course that I did. You have to wash your clothes by hand as well. That's the other thing.
What do you have to? Say again?
Wash your clothes by hand.
Okay.
And that actually gets quite enjoying because you have nothing else to do.
You wash all the time, basically.
Yeah. So just to do anything, you're washing your clothes. So
I feel so dirty right now. Let's just.
No. It's, and you have an area where you can walk around as well. So in the one in England, there's quite a large area where you can walk around in a field for a little forest.
Oh, nice! You get some
breaks. You can do that. Yeah. So you can walk around, stay in your dorm, but even then, you're like, there's that constant feeling of boredom. Yeah. Boredom and any emotion which is coming up at the time.
Are you allowed to do drawings and stuff like that?
No.
Can you write diary?
No. People have done. I've seen people secretly they'll do it
on the toilet, like sitting like that.
Yeah.
On the skin.
I remember speaking to a couple of girls after the course, and they were eating sort of snacks in between, like crisps. And then talking, and I think they got a complaint or something. And so one woman said, I gave myself a little treat because you don't do that either. You might be sort of abstain from any sexual
stimulation,
sexual relations and pleasure. You know, to give yourself any pleasure when you're done.
That's kind of, I mean, they can't really, this is tension relief.
No, they can't, but it's probably a good idea not to do, at least for 10 days, it's okay. But the tension relief is meant to come through the observation. So as you observe whatever's going on in your body, it will start to be released, and, you will start to, because I noticed a huge difference after my first course. You begin to notice how much tension you carry, how much your mind starts thinking. They also take your phones away from you as well. Your phones are stored in the lock cupboard, the one in England anyway.
Because it's really hard. Like, I mean, if they just leave you the phone, it's kind of...
Yeah, you're
not strong enough, the willpower.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's it. You're not strong enough. Let me just check my phone, and that's it.
And bing, out. Yeah.
But I remember the one thing when I finished my first course, I looked at my phone. I remember it was the 10th day, and everyone just started speaking. I went to my locker to get my phone. I looked at my phone, and it was so clear. It was like a new phone. I couldn't believe it. It was like, is this my phone? Because everything seemed just clear.
Yes.
And also when I got back, I played a lot of tennis. And I got back and I started playing tennis with a friend of mine, and I couldn't believe how well I was hitting the board. I was so relaxed afterwards. I was so in the moment, yeah. And it would help a lot with sport, sports which require concentration. It helps so much with that. You realise when you get back how much tension you carry. When you spend 10 days observing your tension, and by observing it, you start to relax, then when you get back, you realize, oh my God, I was, the way I hit that ball I had so much tension. If anyone's here and they're going to do it in England, they book up really quickly, the courses. They book up much quicker for the women than they do for the men.
Wow, that was so interesting. Thank you so much, Daniel.
No worries, my pleasure. Lovely to chat again.